Let's do our weekly check-in on the NBA. I want to start in the Western Conference this week. If the playoffs started today in the NBA, the number one seed would be the LA Lakers. They are 19-3. They just crushed the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City, 121-96. LeBron literally has his shoes off with over 2 minutes left to go. He took his shoes off. He gave them to a fan. He's walking around in socks. The Lakers just look dominant, man. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to watch them play on Friday. They're going to play against the Portland Trail Blazers. I'll be watching on TV. I'm going to record it. It'll be fun. But I cannot wait to watch them, sit down and really watch an entire Lakers game. They've been phenomenal this year. The number 2 seed is the LA Clippers. They are up from last week. They were the 3 seed last week. The Clippers are 16-6. They are closing in on the Lakers, but the Lakers are keeping that lead and playing phenomenal basketball right now. In fact, the Lakers lost the other day and said, we're not going to lose 2 games in a row this year. That's not how we're going to operate. Interesting stuff. The 3 seed in the Western Conference is the Denver Nuggets. They're 13-5. The Dallas Mavericks are the 4th seed. They're up a spot from last week. The Rockets are 13-7. They're the 5th seed. The Jazz are 12-10. They're the 6th seed. The Timberwolves are 10-10. They're the 7th seed. And the Phoenix Suns are the 8th seed in the Western Conference at 9-11. A team you got to pay attention to. The Blazers are climbing back up to relevancy. The Portland Trail Blazers, they are now 9-13 and the 9th seed currently in the Western Conference, fighting their way back. They might make the playoffs. Who knows? A lot of year left, but they are fighting their way back and climbing up slowly in the seeding of the Western Conference. Number 1, I want to talk about Zion Williamson in the Western Conference. He was a number 1 overall pick in the 2019 NBA draft. He has not played at all this year. He's out with a torn meniscus in his knee. And he was originally expected to miss 6 to 8 weeks. And the Pelicans just announced that they are pushing back the timetable. They said, for sure, he's not going to make it in that 6 to 8 weeks window. He's going to be farther back than that. Interesting to me, personally very disappointing. I love the Pelicans roster. They have J.J. Redick, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Drew Holiday. And at some point, we're going to get all that talent and all the young players to play together on the court at the same time. Unfortunately, right now, it's not going to be for a while. The Pelicans are 6-15. They're second to last in the West. And the truth is, honestly, that a 19-year-old rookie Zion Williamson is not going to get them over the hump and not going to solve all their problems. It just makes them more interesting and fun to watch, but they're not going to be a better basketball team. The Pelicans have a long way to go to learn and get better as a basketball team. But again, the minute they bring back Zion, I'm going to have fun with that. I'm going to watch. I'm going to enjoy it. And I really want to see if this young basketball team can build something together. Now, the Dallas Mavericks right now are playing great basketball. They've won 9 of their last 10. They beat the Lakers a few days ago. And I'm really enjoying watching Luka Doncic. I really enjoy it. Their only loss in the last 10 games, they lost to the Clippers. And Luka Doncic was 4 for 14 shooting. He was 0 for 8 from three-point range. They lost to the Clippers. That's the only loss they've had in the last 10 games. And Dallas, man, has been fun to watch. They just are. I want to now shift your attention, though, to the Houston Rockets. They had a bizarre game on Tuesday. The Rockets lost to the Spurs 135-133. And the Rockets blew a double-digit lead. They were up 22 points at one point in the second half, and they lost the basketball game. Now, there's a couple wild things that happened in this game, other than the one thing we'll get to, the reason why we're talking about it. First of all, out of nowhere, Lonnie Walker came off the bench and scored 28 points, a career-high 28 points. I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe Lonnie Walker had 22 points in the fourth quarter, which is unbelievable. Just wild. But even more bizarre, and I understand that the statistics are a little bit inflated because it was a game that went to double overtime, but still, listen to this. James Harden scored 50 points, and his team lost. And not only that, he was 11 for 38 shooting. James Harden shot 28% on the night, scored 50 points, shooting 28%, and lost. I'm not surprised they lost. That's a lot of shots to miss. That's not a good percentage at all. I understand. Look, double overtime, fine, but that's still a terrible shooting percentage. And then Russell Westbrook had an even worse shooting percentage. Russell Westbrook scored 19 points, but was 7 for 30 shooting. Russell Westbrook shot 23% on the night. That is awful. Awful. But here is why the weirdest part of all of this, the reason why we're talking about this game, is that James Harden had a dunk that was ruled as not counting, is the way I would put it. He dunked the ball, it went through the net, and then flipped back around and went out of the net, like out of the top. And despite the fact that we have replay technology, you can easily see what happened. Somehow, the referee ruled this as not good. They said it went in and out, which doesn't count in the NBA. I don't understand how that's possible, but the NBA got it wrong, and the Rockets were screwed out of 2 extra points. And those 2 points would matter because this game went to double overtime. Those 2 points would have not gone to overtime, would have made the game not go to overtime, and would have had the Rockets winning the game. So there is a proposal right now that the Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs, I hope I said that earlier, the San Antonio Spurs and the Rockets were playing. There's a proposal that they replay the final 8 minutes of their basketball game on a later date. It's wild. This is weird to me. And this really could happen. It's happened before, apparently, where teams have replayed parts of games. And so the Spurs and the Rockets play each other again on December 16th. And they could play their game and then play the final 8 minutes of the next game and just in 2 nights, just play another extra 8 minutes. It's wild to me. That could actually happen. That'd be so weird to me. So that's a wild storyline. I recommend you follow it. In a couple weeks from now, we could be talking about, hey, that rematch happened. And the Houston Rockets and San Antonio Spurs did play that final 8 minutes over again. It's really possible that happens because the NBA screwed up and stole 2 points away from the Houston Rockets. That'd be wild, to be interesting, and they could, in fact, do that. Pay attention to that storyline. That's a weird, interesting one. Now, let's go to the Eastern Conference. Not much has changed in the last week. If the playoffs started today in the Eastern Conference, the number 1 seed would be the Milwaukee Bucks. They're 19-3. The Celtics are 15-5. The Raptors are also 15-5. The 2 teams have the same records, but the Celtics have the better. They've won a head-to-head matchup, so the Celtics get the nod ahead of the Raptors. That's why the Celtics are the 2 seed and the Raptors are the 3rd seed, even though they're both 15-5. Now, there's a similar situation with the Miami, I guess the exact same situation with the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat. They are both 15-6, but the 76ers are the 4th seed while the Heat are the 5th seed because the 76ers won the head-to-head matchup. Now, the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference, the 6th seed is the Pacers. They're 14-7. The Nets are the 7th seed. They're 11-10. And the Orlando Magic are 10-11 and the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, the Miami Heat lost to Boston tonight. This is something that surprised me as controversial, but it was controversial apparently. The Miami Heat lost to the Celtics 112-93, and they played without their head coach, Erik Spoelstra. Erik Spoelstra, the head coach of the Miami Heat, went back to Miami to be with his family, be with his wife, because his wife was having their 2nd child. And yet, this is really what this tells me is that people on Twitter are so awful to literally criticize anything in the world. But people were criticizing Erik Spoelstra for going home to be with his wife while she had a baby. It's like, what the heck? That seems like something inappropriate that you can't criticize. I definitely think Erik Spoelstra did the right thing. The fact I have to say that's weird, but I do seem to have to say that. Would you rather, what's more important? When you look back on your life, what are you going to remember and what's more important? What's more memorable? A December basketball game in a season of the NBA where you play 82 games, regular season games, or the birth of your child, which only happens once, ever? It's pretty clear to me Erik Spoelstra did the right thing. The fact that there's no decision there. There's no controversy. It's weird people on Twitter were trying to make it into a controversy. I was like, you guys are awful people. What's going on? And again, it just tells me people will literally criticize anything on Twitter. Now, I also want to say personally that I watched this game. The Celtics are my favorite team to watch in the NBA. I enjoy it. There's a couple storylines that make me just like them. I really love Kemba Walker. I love his personality. I think it's cool. I think Kemba Walker's storyline, leaving Charlotte and going to Boston to try and win, that's cool and endearing to me. And I love the Celtics head coach, Brad Stevens. I loved him at Butler in college. He was a college head coach at Butler. I remember watching March Madness with my dad, played at Nachos. Me and my dad were on the couch together watching Brad Stevens and Butler win in the playoffs and the NCAA tournament. It was just fun to me. And it's really funny to me that the Celtics lost Kyrie Irving, their point guard, and they seem like a better basketball team, which is not, I guess it's not surprising me. It's just interesting. Kyrie Irving appears to be a lot of drama and a lot of chaos, and Kemba Walker is more of a guy who puts his head down and works. And that's the prediction I said at the beginning of the year, and it seems to be really playing out that way. Kemba Walker's a better fit for the Celtics than Kyrie Irving was, even though Kyrie Irving's probably a slightly better all-around player and a better scorer for sure. So I just think it's interesting that the Celtics look better with Kemba Walker than Kyrie Irving. Now, the final thing I want to say about the NBA, on Friday we have a great day of sports. We have the Pac-12 championship game. That's at 5 o'clock, or I guess 8 o'clock if you're on the East Coast. And then 7:30 West Coast time, 10:30 East Coast time, you have the LeBron James and the LA Lakers against the Portland Trail Blazers on ESPN. If you're free on Friday night, I recommend you watch the game. I'll be watching. I'm going to record it and watch it a couple hours late because I like skipping commercials, but I have nachos. It'll be midnight for me. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to have a great time. And so if you want to sit down on Friday night and watch something, I recommend go watch LeBron James and Anthony Davis square off against Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. Guys, that is my weekly check-in number 2 on the NBA season.